seagulls follow the troll, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
Nobody cares, mate.
Nobody cares, mate. Nobody fucking cares, mate, honestly.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. P.M.P. on a wee midweek special. Love it. The face of P.M.P. joins with Terry. And for his third different debut in about a week and a half, Steve O'Matt. What's happening, big man? Welcome along to some post-match pish. Oh, Terry, he's going to fit in just all right with us, mate.
He got the memo. He got the memo.
He got the memo. Class of red Vero, mate. Kind of a wee bit classier than Terry just sort of using his fingers to use his vodka optic and me drinking fusty cans of Stella, but hey ho, what can you do? We've got to raise the standards somehow on here. Celtic 4, St Mirren 0. We're going to talk about all that. We've got a few wee headlines. We've got the scoreline to go through. Obviously, another vital 3 points. Kyogo's, Kobayashi's debut, and David Turnbull. His absence made the heart grow colder with him a wee bit unfairly. We'll be talking about that as well. Before we do that, all that good stuff means do hit the subscribe button if you've not already. We jumped up quite a few during the game. Always nice to see. Not that I'm like fucking refreshing the page, you know what I mean? I just went on at the start of this and I noticed it was higher. And obviously, if you want to hit the like button, that gets us all the traction on YouTube right now. I know we're in hot competition with a lot of brilliant podcasts, guys, so we really appreciate you viewing. And if you want to become a Boise Bus member, all that carry on, share it, yada yada, fucking sound. Anyway, welcome aboard the Boise Bus. Hope you're all well. Terry, it is a day we win 4-0. I was glad with the league game midweek, Terry, to sandwich between the cup games. I felt the 2 cup games, you could lose sight a wee bit of the dominance we are showing right now in this league. Today was the epitome of that.
Aye. I mean, you want the games coming thick and fast. You want us to get sort of rhythm going again after that extended break for the World Cup. And I think it's starting. You can see signs where it's starting to knit together. That was a good performance tonight. Not without flaw, but a good performance. A couple of absolutely cracking goals. Some good individual performances. Yeah. Some legs into players who maybe haven't had a lot of game time. New guy coming in, get a first look at him. Couple of absolutely brilliant saves from Joe Hart, by the way. There was one on Saturday. There was a couple tonight.
Yeah,
The second one from Curtis Main, I thought was. I mean, I thought it was in the net. I genuinely thought it was in the net. So, good form from him, and all in all, pretty enjoyable game. Another game ticked off. Another 3 goals advantage on the old goal difference. What's not to like?
Oh, absolutely, Steve-O. If ever we wanted a pretty routine, nice win in the SPFL midweek game, and to further extend, as you see, you can't extend the points if Rangers do their bit as well. Although I heard they were a wee bit shaky, but they did their bit. They get their 3 points. That's fine. We still walk away with a bonus ball of another further 2 goals clear. Just to re-emphasise, this is really a 10-point gap as opposed to a 9-point gap. A 4-0 win as well, and good for the confidence. Debutants, subs coming on, scoring goals. Celtic seemed at it as well, which I really like to see. What more do you want for your Wednesday?
It's all happening. I'll be honest, when we started off the game, a couple of us were chatting about it, and I thought, Tom, was there going to be changes and stuff? And I thought, status quo remains, that could be a tight game, but completely the opposite. They went out there and it was back to that swashbuckling style, commitment across the park. 1 or 2 that we'll get to, but other than that, you can't say better than a 4-0 midweek, can you?
No. And I think this shows as well that they're taking every game serious. I think the form since the break, Terry, we've had chats about it, mate, as we tend to do. Not, just only 2-hour chats, But I think the form's been good since we came back, steady. I thought today we looked, even just the scoreline alone, just that headline grabbing, we needed that. We're not needed it in a desperation way, but I feel that some of the performances we've put in have maybe wanted that. And I do genuinely think as well, it's good for morale, it's good for confidence, it's good for the buy-in for everyone. Whilst January leads to many distractions off the park, which we don't need to go into tonight, which is a fucking relief. Whilst it leads to all that, I think it's games like tonight that kind of put them on that back burner and do that job for you, Terry. Get the 4-0 win. Nobody's greeting about strikers leaving. Nobody's caring what the valuation of a right back is. All that stuff seems irrelevant. It's all about the SPFL title again, and Celtic seem firmly focused on winning that as early as possible.
I think we're starting to crank it up a wee bit, Boise. Especially tonight. Especially tonight was good. And if you remember back to last season, you remember back to what the manager has said. He has this team built and conditioned in such a way that we get stronger as we get towards the finish line. So if we can get through this sort of cold spell in the weather where extremely cold conditions, pitches aren't in the best condition, if we can get through the next month or so, maintain this gap, then I expect us to surge on. March, April time, we should be at our absolute peak as we were last season.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve-O, has it enhanced your confidence? We already, sort of feeling extremely confident where we were, where we were positioned anyway. I felt tonight was just that, do you know what it was? I would call it in the title race or whatever they think's going on right now. I just felt Celtic played with authority tonight. It's just authority, like we're going to dictate when we win this title, not if we win it, when we win it. And I like to see that. And the players just, I don't know, I felt for the midweek game, having played a semi-final on a bog, which I think would have been more energy zapping than, your normal sort of semi-final where I thought Celtic were the better team at the weekend anyway. But I do think they probably would have, soaked up a wee bit more energy. I thought they had the right application, the right attitude. And that's what we maybe came to take for granted a wee bit under Postecoglou. Yep. But the one thing we did this time last year is we started sprinting towards the finish line. I don't know if you remember how it was like, but from January to May last year, it was a sprint. I've got a feeling tonight we just came off the markers. I think the shotguns just went off and we've decided to start sprinting again. It's exciting, eh?
Aye, absolutely. I mean, I think it's always good to get a sort of high-scoring game, and a couple cut off. It could have been more as well. So especially sandwiched between 2 games, you've got a condensed fixture list. If you can go out and one of them, 2 of them, whatever, you can push through and get a big result. It's going to lift the morale all around it. I think the big thing about it that was really good was, as I said there at the start, was the changes. I think there was a concern about keeping the status quo and just playing it safe. So to see the guys coming in and looking energised, looking on it, looking sharp, and then you're bringing guys off the bench and they're contributing, that's going to be a positive lift, as you said. take your mind off a couple of worrying things, maybe after the park or whatever, and absolutely put down a marker. Might not be St Mirren, might not be the greatest team, but there'll be a lot of folk looking back on the game where they beat us and thinking that it could have been a banana skin. So to wash that aside is definitely, it's confidence boosting. And you're talking about the park, just to retouch on that, I didn't think your park looked too great. Now, I know you could argue the point that the National Stadium should always look fantastic as opposed to a domestic pitch. But I know, but what I'll say is see, considering the park was looking a bit ropey, we still managed to do what we do and move the ball around quite comfortably and stuff. So that was positive. We weren't even hindered with a slightly patchy parking areas.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Terry, we did spend a wee bit of time absolutely crucifying the powers that be at the SFA, but they'll get that anytime, just any excuse. But the Celtic Park, the pitch did look like, I don't think it was half as bad, to be fair, and it's had a lot more football on it, but it wasn't ideal surroundings, but we played well. Difficult, I would say maybe difficult's a bit strong. I want, when Celtic sign a centre half in advance of the window, Terry, that to be someone who's better than what we've got there. Now, being better than Cameron Carter-Vickers, I accept is a bit of a pipe dream, right? That's going to be coming in on a free for Japan. I get that. But I still need to hold the hope that guy coming in is going to be better than Starfelt, or take Starfelt's game to a level we've not seen in the 18 months he's been here as of yet. Not because that's necessarily crazily low, just because that's the whole point of progression of a squad. Kobayashi comes in. I thought he had the traits of, I don't know, a ball-playing centre-half. I don't know if he's going to fill out, maybe, but early on I thought, oh, fucking hell, he's not physical enough. That was just my instant worry. You make your, first impressions
Can
and
I
all that.
Jump there slightly, for me, not maybe in physical stature, but Denier-esque, good range of passing, comfortable with the ball.
That's a good example. It's a good example, Steve-O. Terry, Kobayashi, I thought after that, I thought he had techers, didn't he? He did have tech because he looked like he could play.
So
I thought the two yous were at it there. I thought Stevie's out of sync and you're just you're miming to me. What is happening here?
I thought he looked all right. Obviously we need to see him. We need to see a lot more of him before we can make a proper judgment. But I'd say, Boise, in terms of the physical challenge, I can't imagine that he'll come up against too many strike forces in Japan of the mould of Ayunga and Curtis Main. Probably one of the most physical sort of strike forces that play in the SPL. So maybe took 5-10 minutes to get adjusted to that. Thought he looked okay. You suppose you sort of worry with so many of the Japanese guys in the side. Potentially you're lacking a wee bit in terms of stature for set pieces and things like that. But again, in the Scottish League, we're kind of on the ball a lot more. And I suppose in the European games, the ball's played on the deck as opposed to in the air, so it's maybe not as big an issue as you would think. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really, really comfortable in possession. He looks to have a nice range of passing on his left foot. He looks comfortable on that left-hand side, unlike the guy who's playing beside him, who just doesn't look comfortable on any side, I don't think. But it'd be interesting to see. I think the manager had said that Carter-Vickers had sort of picked up a slight bump at the weekend. He also gave the same reason for Jack and Magnus not being in the squad as well, that he picked up a knock at the weekend.
We're not going into it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting just to see what happens. Maybe not for the cup match. I think we'll possibly still we'll experiment a little bit in the cup game, but it'd be interesting to see what the centre half pairing is for the next league game, which I think's at Tannadice just at the very end of the month.
Yes, me too. Steve, I'm going to come to you on what you made so far at Kobayashi. But before that, Chunks is in the comments and he's been very, very good to the bus. Let's not forget that. Over Christmas, he was very good. So I will read it out because there could be people listening on Spotify, iTunes, and all those other podcast platforms. There's bound to be someone on this bus who knows someone who can get tickets for the cup final, the League Cup final, 26th of February, Celtic versus Rangers. Chunks is looking to be hooked up with 2 tickets. To show his appreciation, he will pay the value of the ticket. He will pay over the odds to the person. He's talking about donating to the bus. I don't care about that. You've done more than enough of that. but he's wanting to do it because it's his son's 16th birthday and he's never seen them play against them. He is desperate for these tickets. If anyone has any way of being able to get some sort of link or some sort of contact who can get 2 tickets, then you will be reimbursed by chunks in my trunks. Cheers, mate. Happy to read that out for you as well. Steve-O! And I love how the fact that folk who don't watch this on YouTube just hear me randomly saying chunks in my trunks every now and then and go, what is now wrong with this channel?
Which is probably just worth saying to Chunks there, if he's on looking at the hospitality packages, might be your best bet. It might be easier. Obviously, it's a lot more expensive, but there's probably
money's not an object.
He's packages like that.
And if that's the case, Chunks, I would love to meet you, by the way, for the first time. What a better occasion. Steve-O, we actually seemed to do okay, didn't they?
Aye, you know, it's like any player. There's our first game, right? You can't really put out any sort of great opinion on it. Obviously, if it was fantastic, we'd be sort of waxing lyrical. I agree largely with what's been said in the comments and what you guys have seen there and what we said previously. I think he looked steady. He looked relatively assured. He had that first sort of maybe 10, 15 minutes of bedding in where, you know, maybe some of the higher balls and the wee bit of physicality between the two boys up front. Maybe was, excuse me, a bit short for a header. But that was our defence problem for the first 10 minutes where we weren't getting to headers and clearing. He then settled into the game and he looked more assured. But as Terry was saying, the main thing about him is he looked composed, he looked comfortable, he had a good range of passing, and he never really looked flustered. St Mirren are going to be the toughest challenge he's going to come up against, but you can only base him on what we've had, and the early signs look good.
Yeah, I agree. I think, do you know what I liked about him? I don't know if you noticed, he's the one who's hit the post before the opening goal. As Abada scores, watch his reaction. He goes tonto when that ball hits the back of the net, and he's the first one to congratulate him, sprinting up to him. And I thought, I love seeing stuff like that. I don't know why. It sounds very trivial, but it also shows part of the team spirit, part of the epic. And it's going to be so easy over the next 6 months, 12 months, if we bring in more guys from the same league or whatever to go, oh, is there cliques forming? And it might be the case, by the way. I'm not disputing that. But that was Abada, who's certainly not a part of that clique. And it's the guy, the new boy for the J League, sprinting over, arms aloft, loving life. That not guy that he's missed. You know, he's the one who's at the post, and it could have been the dream start to his debut, just buzzing the team's got his goal. Abada's finished, by the way, Terry. Those one-time finishes, instinctive. Don't let that boy think about playing football. Let him just play. Because when he thinks, he's nowhere near as effective as when he just does things off the cuff. The execution of that's top draw, mate.
You know what I think about him, boys? I've been consistent. Abada's in my team. Just what he gives you. What he gives you. I was delighted to see him playing this evening. He just gives you that directness. And yeah, I suppose maybe the more time and space he has, the less likely he is to do something in it. But when he gets the ball and he has to do something instinctive, it usually tends to either end up with him getting a shot away on goal or him providing an assist for somebody else. So good to see him again getting minutes. I suppose he kind of hasn't. I don't think he's had the same kind of game time as he did last season in his first year, and you just have a little bit of a concern, you know, at some point. And it's the same with all of the guys, and we've had this discussion about other people. At what point do these lads kind of become frustrated? Because I think we've got a bloated squad is a negative way to look at it, but a squad with considerable depth is, and at the end of the day, they both mean the same thing. We've got a hell of a lot of players, and we've lots of competition for virtually every position that we have, and it's just going to be interesting to see who continues to get the nod and who's kicking their heels on the sideline.
Well, this is the thing. What it's trying to definitely do with them is not have anyone kicking their heels. It's trying to very much make it a squad game. Again, it would be handy if we stayed in Europe past Christmas, though, because that definitely would suit that rotation more. But again, that shows in that aspect, we're very much gearing up for Europe. Abada's someone I think, Steve, any of your contributions on Abada on the channel as of yet, but I mean, he's someone I think that when he's just instinctively left to do something, his first protocol seems to be very direct, And actually, I think he's sometimes more effective when he plays on the impulse than what he does when he's got that wee bit extra time to think about what he's going to do next.
Well, we've seen that from him, particularly in Europe. You can only look back to the early chance against Real Madrid where it was like, oh shit, I'm through on goal here. And then it doesn't pay off. As you say, if you look at some of the goals that he's doing, like ghosting in behind Barris, he just appears and both have some of that, or the ball drops him like that and he strikes it. These are the sort of, I find him, he's better when he's in around the centre of the box and he's running in as opposed to carrying the ball in. He always seems a wee bit slightly lost, I think, when he's trying to do the full blown winger thing, pick the ball up and run in. I think he's better at just ghosting in and, as you say, is one touch or just a snapshot and he gets it away. I mean, he's young and I don't know if him being in and out the team is to do with that. We know that Andrew said before that some guys have had more game time than he thought. Last season he was instrumental. This season he's been in and out. But if we are being fair, sometimes he has came in and he hasn't looked particularly good. So fully justifying him being out the team. But he came in the day, he looked completely on it. And that's what you want. See if we can get that right, guys. You're talking about managing the squad. It's up to the guys when they get their chance to do what he did tonight, to then put the pressure on for the next game, sorry. He's been coming in and these bad games. It's justifiable to drop him. So it's all down to the guys turning it on when they get the chance. And I think if he can continue to do that, I would definitely want to start him. All dependent on your team. If you've got a slightly more attacking team, Maeda's your bag. He's your just stick on because of the press that you'll not get out of Maeda. But mix it around. If you've got a team like St Mirren, you're going to get a bit more chance. They're going to sit off, then that's who you want to be going for, isn't it?
I can't remember, boys. I can't remember a Celtic team with as many options all across the park. I suppose the one position that is a concern for me is left back, because I think we've got one proper left back at the moment who is first team ready. We've then got another left back who isn't first team ready, and we've then got a full back who may be leaving, who's filling in at left back, who just doesn't look comfortable in that position. I don't know if any of you guys have we any kind of timeline on Taylor's return. I would not want to be getting into that cup final with any option other than Taylor.
Hamstrings 3 to 4 weeks, 26th of Feb. I think it'll be okay by then.
Yeah, you'd like a game under his belt by then as well.
It's crazy to think, isn't it? When we look at that left back, we can wind the clock back, and would anybody actually say that we'd be pining for Taylor back? But I feel like they see what you're saying about Juranovic. The way I would describe him, my opinions on him I've not hidden. I think there's a good player in there. I think he's been over-exaggerated in terms of how good he actually is. But the way I would describe his performance tonight was early Taylor when he was getting berated. Not that way where he's just getting through the motions. He's not really doing anything. He's just kind of, he'll have a decent tackle here, and then he'll have a mistake here, a mistake there, and then he'll do something good, and it's really inconsistent. That's just the way I felt it was tonight. It was as if he was just there. He wasn't really doing anything that we would be normally getting from that centre back, full back position from Taylor, or if he's on his preferred side.
I think the third goal epitomised Juranovic's performance tonight. He gave the ball away really sloppily. Then he won it back with an excellent challenge. Then he played Hatate in. Hatate played John in. That led to an excellent goal. And that's kind of he's a mixed bag at the minute. It's a mix between some really good stuff and some really bang average stuff. Just a quick question, just off on a slight tangent. If you had to pick a cup final left back right now, and you don't have Taylor, who do you pick?
I don't think you can pick Juranovic for that. I felt tonight, I said in the group chat, tonight's double down of the week. We might do that as a feature on one of the shows. We'll have a double down of the week. And I said, Ange, after that performance at Ibrox by Juranovic, and that performance at Ibrox by Juranovic at left back, I'm like that. To play him again, only a game separate as at left back after that disaster, is someone not backing down, they're doubling down. So the double down of the week goes to Ange Postecoglou for putting Juranovic back in at left back. And by the way, proudly sponsored by the Bhoys Bus. But genuinely, I don't think it's a debate that's all that exciting, the left back situation, when we've seen Juranovic today, 50-50 display. Ibrox was 100% disastrous. But the positive is Johnston, excellent again. And he's slightly different for the Kobayashi signing in terms of, he looks to me like he's maybe not quite all about technique, albeit it's still very good, but he is going to bring a physicality, a work ethic, which a lot of them have as well, to be fair. But the physicality side, I really like from him, and a determination. Did you see him do the throwing, like half on the deck and that? I just thought he's just desperate to keep going. I find it, again, he's a wee moments, I think, Terry, in time where you look at a player and you go, he's fucking up for this. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I know it's a comical moment, but it's not a defining moment. But I just think you see wee things like that, and I go, Johnston's got, he's ticking a lot of the boxes I like in a player. Physicality is the right word to use, but actually in terms of his actual build and physical stature, he's not big. No, he's not a big lad. But my favorite Johnston moment so far was that tussle he was having with Gogic, who is a physical specimen and is one of the SPL renowned hardmen. They had a wrestling match out on the right hand side, and Johnston won it hands down. So he seems to be a player with a big engine, also big heart, and I've enjoyed it. It's hard to believe he's actually only played. That was only his third game for the club. He looks as if he's been around for years. Yep, 100%. What do you think of him, Steve-O? Because you were making a comparison. Let's not get this as a headline or a meme, right? But I know where you're coming from in terms of profile and in terms of what he likes. You see a wee bit of a certain someone who went to Arsenal. Aye, so as I say, looking at him, right, we're 3 games in, and he plays on a different side of the pitch. But I'm talking about what Terry's saying, the character, the enthusiasm, the fire in the belly, a wee bit of the stature and just the general play. There's a wee bit of the Kieran Tierney's about him for me. Now, I know we'll get comments, oh, fucking Kieran Tierney. No, I'm not saying that, right? Get it out of your head. What I'm saying is if you look at what was Tierney renowned for? Energy, bursting forward, breaking lines, hard in the tackle, committed. He's shown all those things right now, more than any of our players that we've got, your Juranovic, Ralston or Taylor. He's just shown a different, you can see that he loves the game, he loves football, he loves his job, he loves being a defender, hard in the tackle, smashing into folk, hustling guys down. That's what he's got, and that, I don't care who you are, that's Kieran Tierney traits. That's the way he approaches football, and that guy's doing it here at the moment in time. I'm not going to say that he's going on and he's going to be the next Kieran Tierney. We're not directly comparing. We're talking about what's inside him, and that's what I think he's got. And all the power in him. That's what we need. Juranovic didn't have it. Juranovic was, I say it talking past tense here, but Juranovic is different. I think that for me, Johnston's just a guy that loves football, whereas I think the likes of Juranovic is I'm a professional footballer kind of attitude. Does that make sense? Yeah, no, it does. I think Johnston already, I really like what he's bringing to the table, and I think he's going to do well. Someone else, though, Terry, who's bringing plenty to the table and has lost a wee bit in the debate. No, and I don't mean lost because his name's not coming up. His name's getting used too much because it seems to become a war. This divide and debate, and I suppose it's universal with football teams fans, right? Not just Celtic supporters. You talk about your Giacomakis and you want him to stay so bad, it's a slight in Kyogo and vice versa and all that nonsense. We think they both bring loads to the party. Kyogo got a double tonight. That first goal, okay. The pass from attack is a joke. But how many times have me and you sat on here since January, Terry, doing a post-match and said, how often does Kyogo, the runs he's making, not get identified by our players in time, right? So, yes, there's a defence splitting pass to be made. Yes, the execution takes real class to do it, but the runs he's making at times will bamboozle defenders. Atati, funnily enough, because we know he's good enough, right?
surprise.
He finds that ball, Terry, and Kyogo's run superb. And if you watch the finish, it bounces again, and he kind of does the volley at an awkward height. The control he puts on that is outstanding. The technique's brilliant. It was just a wonderful goal. He gets his double tonight and misses an open goal. So we're all happy. Do you know what I mean? The judge has been proven right, and so's all the Kyogo fans. We can't go wrong tonight, mate.
Both of his finishes were excellent tonight. I thought the second one looks an easier chance on paper, but you've got time to run to perfection. He timed his run so well that the linesman flagged him whenever he was still on. But that's what Kyogo gives you, and it was quite pertinent. Jerry McCullough, he made a few comments on the commentary tonight, and he said
he's fucking hopeless, isn't
he addressed the fact there was an enhanced TV audience with the pay-per-view, which is obviously another discussion. But what he was at pains to tell the people watching on TV was that he could see Kyogo making all sorts of great runs, which wouldn't be seen by the supporter watching on the television. He said, if you're in the stadium, you'll see the guys in the stadium will see the runs that Kyogo's making, whereas you guys at home, you'll get to see where the ball's at. But he said this guy is moving all over the place. And as you say, one of those runs, Hitati, who's been absolutely brilliant all season, my player of the season so far, finds him with a delicate pass and an absolutely brilliant finish from Kyogo. I mean, when you see a finish like that, you then wonder, how does he miss some of the ones that he misses? When you see him,
he misses that open goal, and you're going, oh fuck, man, it's a great run, it's a great move. But you know what? The one thing you've got to admire in a player, we've spoken about this with Maeda. When Maeda's missed opportunities, me and Jonathan were having a laugh because he lives in his own wee bubble. But you see that with Kyogo, he just dusts himself off and he goes, fuck it, I've missed that, I'll score the next one. And it was minutes later, a couple of minutes later, brilliant finish. And what we're seeing is, with the double he gets again, is someone who's on course for 25 plus goals this year, Steve-O. That's an asset, right? And
absolutely.
It doesn't need to be a debate about who's number one, who's number two. The reason that Giakoumakis gets a lot of attention maybe on the bus is because he's the one in the headlines potentially leaving. And we can't understand. Believe you me, let's flip it, which I'm pretty good at doing with conversations. And it was Kyogo being linked with a 4.6 million. I think that's what he cost us. If he was being linked with a 4.6 million move out the door, believe you me, we would have dedicated weeks of shows to that being utter madness as well. And maybe in fact more so. And maybe that tells you something. Just thought of that there. Maybe you would dedicate more time to it because it'd be that much of a shock. But either way, his value to the team cannot be diluted or underestimated in any way, shape, or form. Today it's another double. His goal scoring spree continues, Steve-O.
I mean, listen, they're two different players. I think obviously Giakoumakis is getting spoke about heavily. One, because there's all the speculation. Two, because his goals to minutes ratio is fantastic in the limited time he's got. So there's that instant desire to say, give us more, right? In terms of Kyogo, listen, what a player. I said something again, I'm going through it a comparison because everybody loves a fucking comparison, don't they, right? I threw this out and I'm not, again, disclaimer, not saying they're the same, miles apart, right? However, I said middle of last season, I said, I think this young generation have their Larson. And I'm talking about, scores the goals, big goals, and the whole imagery, having a pin-up hero, right? So I'm not saying he is Larson, right? That was the phrase that I coined on it. In terms of him, again, listen, you can't argue his returns, and he might miss a lot of chances, but inevitably he comes up, and that's what makes him a good player. It's that persistence, it's that keeping going and making sure, right, I missed that one, I'll go for the next one. But as you and I discussed, what would be frightening is if you look at his conversion rate, so chances versus goals, it could be more. And people maybe criticise and say, well, he needs to score more. I would look at it as think of the amount of chances he's getting in, the amount of positions he's getting in. You can't put a price on that. So if you still get that return, and then he's missing a lot as well, that's a good headache to have, and that will only get better. You know, that's I think there's only room for improvement there.
Well, there has to be, because obviously we will talk about the Champions League on various other shows in the lead up to all that nonsense again in August, Terry. You'll be looking forward to that, mate. But we will, hopefully bring some of that form. But all what we can't deny is the guy he's got the bit back between his teeth. He's scoring goals. He scored 2 wonderful goals tonight.
Well, see, my favourite Kyogo moment tonight was when he came off. He high-fived every single person along that bench, front row, back row. And you were saying earlier there about possible cliques and stuff. I mean, the optics say that nothing.
Not on his watch.
No,
not on Kyogo's watch. I think Kyogo's he's the ultimate team player.
To just touch back on his goal, sorry, the one that impressed me the most was the second, as you said. See, the first is a beautiful. It's a short back reel video goal, but the one that meant more to me was the second, because how many times have we criticised him about not doing a Giacomakis, that getting in, that making the run and committing and anticipating, because that was a lot of the chances that we were missing, the flashing balls and guys just not following our time in the run. To see the fact that he scored a few goals now since we were making that complaint of that nature, that's good to see, because that's the ball that we play all the time.
Aye, no, definitely. I've said loads of times, I think there's a hell of a lot of goals Kyogo's not had an opportunity to score, or unfortunately miss, that Celtic haven't been able to either find the pass for or even be on the same wavelength at times of the runs he's making. But there's another one that I said at the top of the show I wanted to talk about, and he scores an absolute cracker, Terry, of a 4th goal for Celtic. And remember, this guy was a huge player. I would say, in fact, in the COVID season, probably one of the only ones that came out with pass marks. Then in the first 5-6 months of Angie's tenure, up to the January window, let's say that, I think there was, in terms of attacking play, I think you had Kyogo and then David Turnbull. David Turnbull was producing goals and assists. He had very good numbers. And he seems to be the one. You know when players get injured, right, Terry, right? You know when they get injured and you start, as a fan, dressing them up to be better than what they were. Right? You start going, oh, he's like a new signing when he comes back. Curiously, in the case of David Turnbull, he's not quite getting that. He seems to be the one. And I read not all the comments, but I read as many as they can when we're live, right? And I do think there's a vibe I've picked up on that is, if a bid was to be made, we might be okay with him going. Tonight, he scores an absolute cracker of a goal. It was a wee reminder as to what he's brought to this team under Ange when he's been fully fit. The difficulty he's had is getting up to full match fitness. And I'll be honest, people don't like this, but he wasn't given the fast track, that Aaron Moy was to get up to match speed. He wasn't, right? He wasn't given as many minutes, not dependent on performance, to get right up to match fitness. And we'll see the benefit in Moy, by the way. So, that's a good thing. But I think if Turnbull had been afforded, in the months up to the World Cup, the same amount of airtime as Aaron Moy was, it could be another sort of conversation you have the other way around. Again, ain't a dig at Moy. I'm delighted with how he's improved. But what I'm trying to say is, you can see that minutes matter. And I think Turnbull's maybe one of those folk that somehow, whilst he's been out, has been just left in the shade a wee bit, as opposed, Terry, to being, as quite often is the case, wait till he comes back, he's like a new signing. That narrative hasn't been the case with David Turnbull.
He's been dead unlucky with injury. Like as you say, he wasn't just a first pick. He was a nailed on first pick. There was him and McGregor, and they were nailed on. And much in the same way as Hatate and McGregor are now nailed on, and the other position is up for grabs, but it probably doesn't feel as if it's up for grabs for Turnbull. It's up for grabs between O'Reilly and Moy. Turnbull has to somehow force his way into that equation. It's going to be difficult. I mean, he's come on tonight for a short cameo, but he's obviously done his chances no harm with an excellent finish, and that's what Turnbull does. I mean, the season before Celtic tried to sign him first time round, and Celtic put a lot of work into getting Turnbull, because obviously we had him at the park, we had everything agreed. Then we noticed a problem with his knee. That season before, he scored a shed load of goals in a poor Motherwell team, which obviously attracted Celtic to him. He then had that virtually full season where he was out recovering from the injury that came up in his medical scan with Celtic. Then we took him the following season, and as you say, then that sort of season during the COVID, he kind of almost by default got brought into the first team at the same time as Sorrow, as a sort of last roll of the dice by Lenny, when all other options had been exhausted and every other player was being lambasted by the support. He brought these two in.
I remember if he'd been brought in maybe 2 months before that, you started thinking this start might not have been as ropey. Sorry, just to cut in, but I think there were cries for him to get his chance, and he by God, he took it. Did he win? Did he win Player of the Year that year for Celtic's Player of the Year?
I'm not having it.
Don't know if they had one that year, did they?
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm going to go against the grain, piss into the wind here. Doesn't get a game because he's no good enough. All right, he's not. Right, he's not. I'm sorry. I'm loath to tell the truth because folk don't like that. The fact of the matter for me, just me personally, it's my opinion. Yes, during the COVID situation, he was a shining light in a pile of shit. All right, he had a good season. Listen, but look at the amount of garbage around him. So it wouldn't be hard to shine. And then whenever Ange came in, yes, he was getting used and he was a regular pick, and by all accounts, he was steady enough. He was never, for me personally, setting the heather alight. You know, he was steady without being overly impressive. In terms of saying Moy get more time to get up to speed than Turnbull, I would just argue that's because Moy's simply a better player, and you want to have a better player up to speed and on the park. And see, saying a goal has not done his chances any harm, maybe, but it's a cup game. I'd expect him to get a game. But a goal doesn't, because you come on and score a goal, that doesn't mean you should be getting picked. The problem for me with Turnbull is, yes, there's a good player in there. Yes, he's young, and yes, he's developing. And you can argue at the cows come home that guys need more time than that. But when he comes in, is he better than what he's come on for? Probably not.
You say
and
that.
I just don't think he offers enough. Yes, he occasionally he'll be a goal threat and he'll come up with a good goal, but I just don't see enough from him to justify it. Much like who we've not touched on, Matt Riley at the moment, I don't see enough from him to justify him getting on the pitch, regardless of how good a talent or potential people think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think as well, though, that one of the things is it's horses for courses. At the end of the day, yes, maybe from Angie's mind and maybe your mind, Steve, which is absolutely fair, that you view Moy just as a better player, so I'm going to be quicker to give him that fast track, as I call it, to first team duties than what I've given David Turnbull. Okay, that's his gift to do that. That was his choice. And maybe that is based fundamentally on, I think that's a better player than the other one. But it doesn't change the fact we don't know, hypothetically, how much of an impact David Turnbull would have. And if his numbers, my hunch is, his numbers would be better than Aaron Moy's if he'd played the same amount of minutes in that time.
I think he'll score more. I think he'll score more goals, right?
And have more assists.
And
play
goals,
in the same position.
But the point is, goals, yes, are very important, vital. Of course, you can't do enough goals in your team. But I just don't think he offers enough of the other attributes that the likes of Moy does. And listen, there's guys that should be in there's, you know, it's just said horses for courses, not right. You need all types of player to make up a team. But I just don't think he gets around the pitch enough and does enough in those, you know, when you're down, when the game's dragging out a little bit and stuff like that. I don't think he's one of the guys that actively goes looking for the ball and he wants to pick up and grab the game with the scruff of his neck. I think he can be anonymous. That might simply be down to age, right? It might be. But I'm just looking at it black and white for the prism of would I rather have guys X, Y, and Z who show those qualities more often, or Turnbull who shows it in flashes?
I think it's fair debate, Steve-O. I want Terry's take on one other aspect of David Turnbull, because we've been asking the questions about it as well. And by the way, Polymorphous kind of agrees with what you're saying there as well, Steve-O. Fair play. He didn't celebrate his goal tonight. I know people want to read into it and maybe they want our opinion on it. I'm kind of, and usually I've got, what did it mean, In this instance, I'm not convinced it meant all that much. I think it's just a guy who knows he's bit part right now. He scored to make it 4-0 at home to St Mirren with 5 minutes to go. Yes, it's a corker, but he knows there's a hell of a lot more work to do to get in the team.
Yeah, I suppose, David, just to pick up on your point, we've not seen enough from Turnbull. I would probably counter that with we've not seen enough of him in order to see enough from him this season, certainly. But Polymorphos's comment is possibly why we're not seeing as much of David Turnbull. Is it because of the pressing, the closing down, the winning the ball back, the defensive side of the game? Is that why Turnbull isn't forcing his time, isn't getting more game time? He certainly gives us that option going forward. He is a goal-scoring midfielder. He is good at timing his runs, getting into the box. He does hit a shot early. That's a trait that he's got. He does score from outside the box. But is it that other side of his game that Ange wants to see more of, where he's leading the press from the midfield, he's tracking back, he's closing down, he's making tackles? Has David Turnbull got that in his locker? Is he able to add it to his locker?
I'll flip it very quickly, Terry. I'm going to come in very quickly. How many post-match pitches have we done about one pass too many? Be honest. How many times have we said,
lots of times,
one pass too many? That is the honest truth. And I think there, just alone in that wee argument there, I don't think, does this guy need to be in the first team? No one's saying that. But we need a squad. And I think for that direct quality he's got alone, I think that does add value. I hadn't even thought of that. But just when you say that there, and one of the comments said it as well, he's direct that he'll take that dig quite early, gets the ball out his feet, and his instinct is very often not to do another 1-2 to get close to the goal. He'll trust his judgment that I can score for here. And he has scored many goals outside the box. That's also a trait that maybe, just maybe for all the technical brilliance of the Celtic midfield, maybe sometimes they're a wee bit gun-shy that way, Steve-O. I know you're not big man, right? That's a joke, right? But I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, that's one attribute that David Turnbull brings to the party that I would say is maybe slightly lacking in other midfield options.
See, can I just jump in 2 seconds, sort of reading some of the comments there? Listen, I know I'm saying, I personally don't think he's fantastic, right? But as I say with most of these guys, there's clearly a player in there, right? And we've saw flashes of the potential. Now, again, you can argue this at any player, you can argue this about give the youth guys a chance, right? You can say about anybody, give them a chance, but they've got to prove it, right? You see what some of the commenters are saying. You can see why he was getting games around the Lennon era and stuff like that, right? Very much suited that slightly more slower pace, passing it about, getting the ball, holding it sort of style. A lot of the times, if you think about it, we almost cut the midfield out. It can be like centre pivot out is gone. So that midfielder that sort of labours the passes around isn't necessarily as much there. But the one thing for me that I've always thought about Turnbull, and again, you can argue what match fitness is, I'm not saying he's unfit, but he doesn't look as fit as those around him. He doesn't look, you can't manufacture speed. You're never going to be able to do that. But I don't know, there's just something about him. He never looks quite as sharp and fit and active as the other guys around him. And that's probably not doing him any favours.
Whilst, if there was a footballing version of Stars in Their Eyes, Terry, and Matt O'Reilly could come out as Tom Rogic any day of the week, have we been missing it? Is David Turnbull, could it be that whilst he doesn't fit all the attributes that the rest of the team's profile kind of be the go-to things for Ange, could it be that David Turnbull's the joker in the pack in the midfield, a bit like Tom Rogic was last year? And let's be honest, he was pretty crucial at times last year as well. I'm not saying he's as good as him, but he might get a lot better. I don't think Tom Rogic at 22, 23 was pulling up trees for Celtic either all the time, to be honest with you. So I wonder, sometimes you maybe just need that, someone who's a wee bit different, someone who I ain't going to get legs out of him. I know I'm not going to get that press off him. But I tell you what, if he finds that wee pocket of space, he'll get us a goal. Do you know what I mean? Or he'll make something happen. And I wonder, I still think that'd be my argument to you, Stevie. I think at the start you were quite black and white, like he's not good enough. I'm beginning to think he might not be as good at doing what the other players do. And I subscribe to your argument. He's not. He's fit, but he's not as fit. And I actually do agree with you. But I think there's other wee bits that we need as part of the puzzle that maybe he brings differently. And I think Tom Rogic, Terry, was effective at doing even last season. When we found out it was going to be high press and we don't stop, I thought Tom Rogic is a goner, man. That guy plays in his slippers. What chance has he fucking got? He's got no chance. You know what I mean? I could fucking beat him at a beep test. You know what I mean? And then here we go. You know, maybe that could be something that Turnbull fits.
I think the main difference between Rogic and O'Reilly at this stage is Rogic's goal return. O'Reilly's got lovely feet and he looks really majestic at times, but there's sometimes where we just keep moving the ball, we move it, and you're just thinking, do you know what? Somebody have a go, just have a pop from outside the box, just have a go. Yeah. And we probably are guilty at times of overplaying it. And see when it's good, it's really good. It looks great, but there's sometimes we just overkill almost on the passing. And I don't know. My thoughts are on Turnbull. I still would like to see. I still think he's got a part to play. I think he brings a different skill set than all of those other midfielders, and I would like to see him get an opportunity before we talk about letting him go. Yeah. Does he have all the qualities that I'm just looking for? Possibly not. Does he have qualities that those other midfielders don't have? I think so.
One other thing, though, I don't know if you noticed the camera actually panned to Ange pretty quickly after the goal. Doesn't do an animated sort of reaction very often, Steve-O. I don't know if you froze there, mate.
I'm just very still, just listening intently. Hanging on every word, big man. I can't wait.
You've definitely froze. But I can hear you fine, so that's all right. But I thought Ange was definitely showed a wee bit. I thought he was animated and Turnbull scored. More animated than he normally is. And considering it's a fourth goal, maybe that's just because that subscribes to the we never stop mantra. And he's like, see, we're still going for it. Mm-hmm. Or was there a bit of him going, go on the bull. You've still got this, mate. I've still got faith in you.
It's hard to tell. Sometimes Ange is
often just like this.
Exactly. Listen. I think we've spoken about Ange as a man manager, and he's invested in his team and wants to see them do well. I think it's quite simply just a case of, well done, mate. You've come on and you've scored. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I think it's really just as basic as that. Sorry, I sort of slide a tangent here, but I was listening to Terry was saying I'm glad he said it because I had written it down. It sort of these prompts of things that were in my head when I was watching the game. He was talking about O'Reilly and talking about Rogic, comparing them. And a few folk marking stuff have previously commented on O'Reilly sort of being off a wee bit at the moment. And I kind of see a comparison between O'Reilly and Rogic with a slightly, not negative, but you know what I mean when I say it, spin on it. At the moment, for me, O'Reilly, he is a fantastic player. There's a great footballer in there, absolutely. He's been a wee bit off at the moment. I would describe him at this moment in time as a luxury player, much in the way that Rogic was a luxury player.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference between the two is Rogic was a luxury player that would pop up with a moment of magic, twinkle toes feet or a big goal. O'Reilly's just a luxury, full stop at the moment. Just going through the motions. And tonight, I think it really epitomised the sort of ups and downs that he's had, where it's just not quite been happening for him. So I don't know if you guys picked up on that or where you're at with that at the moment, but
I think, Steve-O, I think O'Reilly's been on a trajectory like this, just going up the way. And this has been the first time we've seen a dip in form. Terry, I think what you also need to remember with young players that are inexperienced, and he is. I mean, he's even played 100 professional games. I don't know. It'll be close to that maybe, but it might not even be. Certainly, not the majority of them, at a club like Celtic or whatever, right? And I think his learning curve has been steeper than most, coming from League One to Celtic. And I think the impact he had, again, exceeded expectations. Again, can lead to then false expectations then thereafter that. I think O'Reilly right now, we are looking at what happens to a 21, 22-year-old whose confidence goes off the boil because of a dip in form, undeniable dip in form, and then their struggle to recapture that form is just a wee bit longer than guys who know they've got it in the locker. That happens, by the way, and that'll come with age. I think undeniably, though, he's nowhere near playing at the levels we've seen before. I think not undeniably, but I do feel like, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I'm giving him a far longer sort of lead of sympathy, do you know what I mean, than I would some other players, because I do think he's been thrown in at the deep end, became a mainstay of the team at a very young age, coming from a level that isn't Celtic, let's be abundantly clear. I think then had to switch positions and kind of had the onus on him, put in that you're playing the Cal Mack role, as in our captain, who, is a 9 out of 10 every week. I think there's been a lot of different wee aspects to it than that. And yeah. I feel very much like if I was to give someone the benefit of the doubt, it would be Matt O'Reilly right now, Terry.
Aye, but see, he came in. He came in that January window, and those guys that came in, obviously Itaguchi hasn't played, but the other two Japanese guys and O'Reilly, they came in. They gave us the energy to go on and win that title. And O'Reilly came in as a £1.5 million signing, and within a month, we were talking about him. Not we, but Celtic supporters were talking about him as a £20 million player within a month. And I honestly thought Matt O'Reilly's best spell was when Cal Mack was out. He went into that deeper role. He took on responsibility. I think this slight drop-off in form has been since McGregor has come back in again. I do honestly think, though, that all he's lost for is a goal. I think if he gets a goal, I would be inclined to play O'Reilly against Morton at the weekend. I'll probably play O'Reilly and Turnbull both. I think if O'Reilly gets a goal, gets his confidence up, I think he'd spark back to life again. I think it's just a drop off in form. I think he is a classy operator, and I think the numbers that he had last season, I mean, in terms of more so assists and goals, I think he's got numbers in him. I just think he needs to find the back of the net.
He's got the top assist in the league this season.
I think he just needs to find the back of the net. I think he needs to find the back of the net.
Definitely. I mean, I think that, listen, I'm reading some of the comments stuff. Listen, nobody's shitting on O'Reilly. Nobody's saying he's not a good player. This is the sort of opportunity that we've got as fans, people that are producing comment and commentary on these sort of things, games. That's what we're here to do, to talk about things as fans, whether you're on a podcast or not. And if somebody's having a different thought, there's nothing. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with calling what's in front of you. The guy has a different form.
No one said that. They just
no. Listen, I'm not. That's not a bite at a comment. This is me just saying. I'm reading the comments and saying it. What I'm saying is see with it, it's a case of look at how good he was when Cal Mack was out, right? And he moved into a different position. He had a lot of responsibility and he had to be on it. This comes back to what I said at the start. See, when guys drop out the team for whatever reason, when they come in, it's important that they put in the right performance to justify and show what they've got. And unfortunately for me, at least, when he's came in, when he came out for the cold, he's just looked all right. You can't, as I've said before about many guys, you can't always be brilliant week in, week out. That's not the nature of football. There's very few players in football that have that level of consistency. It's natural. They're human beings. They're not machines. But he's a guy that's just, went off the boil a wee bit. And I think he just seems a wee bit lost in the shuffle at the moment. Almost like he doesn't quite know what his role and his place is.
Yeah. I think since he's went back to the role for the Cal Mack one, it's definitely affected him, if I'm honest. I think that's been one of the differences. But anyway,
I don't talk pish, Monty. I talk sense.
That's what he says. If you do, he says, if you do, he'll tell you. Listen, that has been a brilliant P.M.P. We will call it there, Terry. You'll be delighted, mate. You'll be like, what do you mean? Under an hour, boy? Fucking hell. But no, because it's midweek, we've kept you up late enough. There's 276 in the chat. I can't thank you all enough. It's really kind. Do hit the like button, subscribe, all that shite. I don't really like going on about that. I'll never be comfortable doing that. It's not my bag, you know. Hey guys, hit subscribe. It's just not me. But we do appreciate you all being on the bus for the road home, because it has been another 3 points in the bag. It's another step closer to another title. We remain, in the words of Odson Edward, top of the table. Let's say some words for some legends before we go. Cheers to Steve-O. Cheers to Terry. See you later.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.